So we have a prospective CBN governor. Let me start with that, Idahosa. What's your take on the persona of the CBN and the profile of the CBN governor?
Well, I think we're in for some good time. One of the things that actually interested me when the name Cardoso was announced is that, again, the president has gone back to his constituency to look for somebody who will be able to do the job for him. And one thing that we cannot take away from the last administration was a discord between the fiscal and the monetary policy. Now, by this appointment, we're seeing people who are having same framework for thinking. Don't forget that Cardoso was the economic commissioner in Lagos State, while the finance minister was the finance commissioner. So they have worked together, they have blended together. So it will just be a perfect blend of these two people bringing their head together, and especially also understanding the monetary policy terrain. A renowned banker of repute, an economist, driving the process. And I think it will be a lot of economic dividend for Nigerians as the days progress. We hope that, of course, he passes through the screening of the Senate and then, of course, become the substantive CBN governor, where the others that have been appointed also serve in the board of CBN.
You know, some days ago, last week actually, we talked about an institution, a functional institution.
Yeah.
So when you have people like this in the president's cabinet, you can make a safe prediction and put your money on it, right?
Yeah, that's what it is. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you're just dealing with people that you already know what they are capable of doing. Mm-hmm. And like I said to people, since President Bola Tinubu left office in Lagos in 2007, he has had this colloquium around his birthday. And every time they sit down in that meeting thinking, is always economy, how to push the agenda of a working Nigeria. And now these men have been at this table sitting together, review what they feel is good for Nigeria. So for me, and I think is that now the ground is set to test these philosophies and thinking around economic policies. And we're only expecting to see that they are able to put their acts together and confront this hydra-headed economic challenge that the nation faces.
All right. Let's move on to the next story. The Chief Executive Officer of the African Development Studies Center, Ambassador Victor Washoluwafemi, has urged President Tinubu to rebrand Nigeria's social relief efforts from palliative to social interventions. Idahosa, I'm very sure you talked about this, that was last week. You said you don't like using the word palliative, and our very own, the Chief Executive of African Development Center, Ambassador Wash, is also towing that path, saying that it should be rebranded, not to be called palliatives, but social interventions. Your take on this?
Yeah, but you see, it's looking at the concept palliative itself and what it is. You see, when somebody is sick and you're trying, yes, of course, try to just get somebody to be stable a lot. And I think what we really need to do, we should get beyond these handouts that we're doing to people and put a comprehensive policy in place to actually see how we can actually pull people out of poverty. The whole idea is not giving people fish to eat. The idea should be teaching people how to fish. And that's the only way the economy can become really robust. And then, of course, we can actually see the dividends that is, of course, Nigerians really need to see. So I think it's a call that is in order and in place. Why we here always say that, look, palliative is not the right word, it seems a misnomer. We should be looking at how do we really intervene? How will government do this? And then, of course, we can see to move people away from poverty rather than keep giving them these handouts we do on a daily basis in the name of palliative. Because the real truth of the matter is that those things really cannot sustain any family if they have to live decently. So what government should really focus on is to see, how do we really address these social issues that we are able to cater for the needs of these people in a sustainable manner? Because even from government point of view, it's also not sustainable. Of course, you remember that after the removal of the subsidy, the president announced a 5 billion palliative to states. States said they've received just 2 billion. Now they will since have disbursed those 2 billion. Now we don't know when the next tranche is coming. And what happened to the poor who just received maybe a cup of rice and then is exhausted? So we cannot continue in that trajectory. We should be able to change the way and approach to solving problems. And I have always had this conviction that we as a people must see how to set people up, give them opportunity to exploit businesses, make profits, and then at the end of the day, they are able to actually take care of themselves. And I think that's possible.
You know, so his argument is the word palliative, it's not really the word palliative that's a problem, but that it's the mindset behind the word palliative. That when you say palliative, it's short term. But the argument of Ambassador Oluwafemi is, let's think about a long-term solution. And then he made recommendations, paradigm shift, change of mindset. You know, let me. There's a quote I'd like to read from. He said that the term palliative has become synonymous with governmental and non-governmental programs aimed at providing short-term relief. So if we are looking at a long-term solution, the change might not be immediate, right?
Yeah, but it can be immediate, really.
Oh, okay.
It can be immediate. There is so much that government can do in terms of social intervention. Take, for example,
how do you get people how do you get the people to understand that this is what you're doing?
Yeah, but this is what government really need to do.
Okay.
Elsewhere, what people do, they get into health sector, for example, and give health insurance to people who are poor.
Okay. So
even that 2 billion, if you use it for health insurance for a majority of people, that will be able to take care of health challenges. Where you have people who are not able to afford medication or to go to the hospital, now government has made it possible for them. We also have talked about investment in the transportation sector.
So it's a form of subsidy?
Yes, that's what it is. The kind of an approach that we're going to give to the people that, of course, they are going to continue to enjoy. Because if you pay premium for an insurance, health insurance, for example, you won't pay it again until next year. And that thing can run for 12 months. So that's more sustainable than giving somebody a cup of garri and a cup of rice, and 2 days is finished. And then, of course, he's still having the same heart that, look, this government has not done anything. So I think it should be done more sustainably. And that's what people are doing elsewhere, really not giving handouts. It could come in the form of even tuition. You know, government can decide to say, well, we are giving grants to some people to be able to go to school. Now, this kind of investment, the nation will never lose. But when we just consume, we buy rice to consume today, we are waiting for another 3 or 4 months. Then, of course, even the government itself continue to earn a bad image. So my own approach to these issues is actually to see we have people, we have farmlands. We can even go into agriculture, for example, and give money and said, okay, get a whole lot of people who are underemployed, put this money in their hand, let them do farm in a different way, and then even government gets revenue from it. Why these other people also get themselves sorted by ways of wages and salary. So
it's a win-win situation.
A win-win situation. That's what it should be. Not really every day we give somebody 2,000, 3,000, and then of course we think it will go a long way. Because the fuel subsidy regime has been removed and it has come to stay. So we are not hoping to see it tomorrow. So palliative is something that you use maybe when you have a natural disaster, as we're speaking in Libya just now, to just give people immediate relief out of the trouble. But I don't think the kind of environment where we're talking about absolute poverty, that this kind of handout should be really encouraged.
Vivian, you talked about earlier how to get people to key into this. Part of what Ambassador Oluwafemi, part of his recommendation, he proposed hosting workshop, seminars, and campaigns to enlighten stakeholders on the significance of this language shift and its impact on effectiveness and the reach of social and economic programs.
Fantastic. That's holistic.
Yeah, that's
so
holistic.
You get people to understand that
Exactly.
I'm not taking palliatives away,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
this is the new language.
That
yeah,
is it. And
absolutely.
this calls for the need for orientation, you know, national orientation. That's good. Moving on, 6 state governors and 7 ministers will be part of President Bola Tinubu's 17-man delegation to this year's United Nations General Assembly in New York. This question comes in, Idahosa. Why do we need to have a 17-man delegate to you?
I think,
United General
again,
Assembly.
for me, it's also to say kudos to the president who walks his talk. Just last weeks or 2 ago, he said that those who have no business being in New York will not be allowed to travel. And now what we have seen is that we just see that and then one of the leanest delegation to hunger in the history of Nigeria. And then, of course, what it speaks to is that the president is also looking at people who are going to benefit or the kind of a conversation is going to have. So these people are strategically selected to be part of this meeting. The governor of Kaduna State, the governor of Akwa Ibom State, the governor of Kwara State, so the governor of Oyo State. And I think this is the thinking of the president that, look, like Ajuri said, is not just an hunger show alone. The president is actually going to the United States of America to go negotiate deals for Nigeria. And that's what the whole essence is. And then, of course, there would have been assessment of states where, of course, there are low-hanging fruits where people can quickly come in for investment. Don't forget that, for example, Akwa Ibom has been doing a whole lot in the area of green economy. Now, if you get to Kaduna, for example, you see they also be doing so much. Kwara has been a bastion for agriculture for a very long time. Now, all these things, I think, are strategic meetings that the president really wants to have. And like it was read in the news, it's not just even going to the Yonga to read an address, but it's also even going to the Wall Street. You see, this is important, that he is going to the stock exchange to ring the closing bell.
You just took that right out of my mouth. I was going to say something to that. Yeah, and then this is it. He's going to be the first African president to do that.
That's remarkable.
It's a big deal, right?
No, it tells you what it is. This is a business president. Yeah,
but there's something also I wanted to speak to. Now, you said earlier on that they're just not going there for sightseeing.
No.
It's not even a tourism thing.
No.
Now, this is what Anjuri said, that there's going to be a roundtable talk with chief executives and of 4 multinational companies. So they already have their plan.
Oh, yes.
Chief executives of 4 multinational companies and presidents as well as prime ministers for bilateral talks.
Yeah. It's a purpose-driven meeting.
In a nutshell.
Oh, yeah. So just using the occasion of the Hunger Summit to really get into the U.S., look for willing investors. And don't forget, of course, there have been a whole lot of conversation and talks. And because, again, Bola is a friend of the U.S., as people say, he has a lot of people who have been doing the legwork. All that will be required at this moment is you're seeing the president sign deals and sign off, and then, of course, ready to take off. And I think for me, it's quite very heartwarming to know that you have a president who is not always thinking about jamboree, but is also thinking, how do we bring in foreign direct investment, which Nigeria needs so critically to be able to move these billions or millions of people out of poverty into great wealth.
You remember the president was in India last week to woo investors. That has yielded something remarkable. And now NNPCL and Indorama Energy Limited on Saturday signed an MOU for the development of a multi-billion-dollar gas project in Nigeria.
Oh, yeah. Great. Excellent. You know, last week, about the whole of Rivers State, led by their governor, went to pay homage to the president to say thank you for this opportunity. And I remember when the governor of Rivers State was speaking, Governor Fubara, he was saying that actually they have already made available land for Indorama to start operation. I wasn't thinking that it was going to be as quick as possible. Now the deal has been sealed. We're looking at a whopping $7 billion US dollars coming into Port Harcourt. Now, of course, you just see no production of fertilizer alone. Of course, these factories also expected to produce methanol. Is supposed to be producing urea. Now, all these things are going to really re-engineer the entire fabric of the agri sector in Nigeria. So we're no longer importing fertilizer. Nigeria should be ready to actually export fertilizers. And this is good news to farmers. And we're expecting an annual contribution to GDP of about 3.8 billion US dollars. That's massive.
That's massive.
Really massive. And that's just one part of the deal. Kudos to the president, kudos to NNPC and Indorama. And we do hope that, of course, the Niger Delta area will provide a safe place and haven for this company to actually operate and make profit, because that's another thing. Because you are putting money in, people should be able to make profit. And I think the people of the Niger Delta, we're looking at employment, both direct and indirect employment. 55,000 people is estimated to benefit from this largesse. This is good news to Nigerians, and this is good news to the people of Rivers State.
It's really good news, Vivian. You know, the collaboration is going to make Nigeria the largest producer of fertilizer and urea.
That's big.
That's big.
In the East was, in the Idahosa'S was, that's massive.
That's massive.
It's massive. Yeah, but I don't know if you see what I see here, because you were saying kudos to the president, kudos to the Niger Delta region, kudos to Indorama. Now, have you noticed that there is a collaboration across party lines and across regional lines? There seem to be no longer this, I am in the Niger Delta, I'm in APC, I'm in PDP. And have you noticed that there is unity? I mean,
yes.
Things seem to be going
the temple is actually coming down.
Absolutely.
You see, this is one of the issues that I have spoken to. When you look at the political economy of nations, every nation builds their politics on the foundation of economy. But what we have done over the years is that we have made politics our superstructure. And this is why the tensions are always so high. Professor Claude Ake of blessed memory has said this in one of his books, How Politics Underdeveloped Africa. And he said in that work that African leaders have never put development on the front burner. All that has been on the front burner is politics. So all we talk about is politics, all we dream is politics. But you have seen a president who is actually looking beyond politics to development. We saw that even in his cabinet. That even the hardest of his critics were even encouraged to serve in the government. Really extending olive branch as far as possible. You look at it, even the delegation from the governor's side that is going to the US is not just, it's all across party. So it's not about party politics. And that was what Fubara was actually saying when they had that visit. That it is the whole of River that's here. There's no party affiliation. It has nothing, everybody's here. Across all the major parties, we are all here to say thank you to Mr. President for your interest in River State and for the things you promised that you are going to do, and you are hit the ground running. We are here to say thank you to you, President.